What would you do if the woman selling bread on a dusty roadside was secretly a princess? Not just any princess, the only daughter of one of the most powerful kings in the country. And what if the man who fell in love with her had no idea she was royalty? This is the incredible story of Princess Amora, a young woman who abandoned a life of luxury and need among ordinary people in search of something money could never buy, true love. But her secret would change the lives of everyone around her. Especially one man. A man who believed she was nothing more than a poor bread seller. Stay with me, because what happened next shocked an entire kingdom. The morning sun shone brightly over the kingdom of Umuahia. Golden rays reflected against the towering walls of the royal palace, creating a magnificent sight that could be seen from miles away. Inside the palace, servants hurried through polished hallways carrying trays of food, expensive fabrics, and decorations. Everything appeared perfect. But Princess Amara Okafor felt trapped. She stood beside her bedroom window, staring at the bustling city beyond the palace gates. At 24 years old, she possessed everything most people could only dream about. Designer clothes, luxury cars, private tutors, servants who fulfilled her every request. Yet none of it brought her happiness. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Your Highness," a servant announced. "The king requests your presence." Amara sighed. She already knew what awaited her. Another discussion about marriage. Another wealthy suitor. Another man interested in her title rather than her heart. She followed the servant through the palace corridors until they reached the royal meeting chamber. King Chokudi sat proudly on his throne. Beside him was Queen Adis. Several respected elders occupied nearby seats. And standing in the center of the room was a young man wearing an expensive suit. Amora immediately recognized him. Emeka Balogun, the son of one of the richest businessmen in the kingdom. His smile widened when he saw her. Her stomach tightened. The king gestured proudly. "Amora, come and meet your future husband." The room erupted with approving laughter. Amora froze. Future husband. No one had informed her about this. She looked toward her mother for support. The queen avoided eye contact. That told her everything. This arrangement had already been discussed. Without her. "Father," she said carefully, "may I speak with you privately?" The king's smile faded. "Anything you have to say can be said here." The elders nodded in agreement. Amora took a deep breath. "Then I must refuse." Silence. Absolute silence. Every face in the room became still. The king slowly rose from his throne. "What did you say?" "I cannot marry a man I do not love." A murmur spread through the chamber. Emeka looked embarrassed. Chief Balogun looked furious. The king clenched his fist. "Love," he repeated. "You speak of love as if it feeds families and protects kingdoms. It matters to me. It should not." The king's voice echoed against the walls. "I married your mother because it strengthened alliances." Over time, love followed. Amora shook her head. "I want to find someone who loves me before marriage." The king laughed bitterly. "Every man will claim to love you. Not because of who you are, but because you are a princess." His words struck deeper than he realized. Because she knew they were true. For years she had watched men compete for her attention. Yet none seemed interested in her dreams. Her fears. Her personality. Only her status. Only her future inheritance. Only the crown. Tears gathered in her eyes. "That is exactly why I cannot do this." The king pointed toward the door. "This discussion is over. Prepare for the engagement ceremony." Amora's heart sank. The decision had been made. That night she could not sleep. Rain tapped gently against her bedroom window. The palace felt colder than ever. She sat at her desk reading old journals she had written as a teenager. Page after page contained the same wish. I want someone to love me for who I am. Not for my title. Not for my wealth. Just me. A sudden realization filled her mind. If she remained in the palace, she would never know whether such love existed. Never. An idea formed. Dangerous. Crazy. Yet impossible to ignore. What if nobody knew she was a princess? What if she lived among ordinary people? What if she met someone who saw only Amora? Not Princess Amora. Just Amora. For the first time in months, she smiled. Before dawn, the palace remained quiet. Most servants were asleep. Guards stood lazily at their post. Amora dressed in simple clothes she had secretly purchased months earlier. No jewelry. No makeup. No expensive accessories. She looked completely different. She placed a handwritten letter on her bed. Then slipped out through a side entrance. Her heart pounded with every step. She had never walked through the city alone before. Never. Yet freedom felt wonderful. The cool morning breeze touched her face. Birds sang from nearby trees. For the first time, she felt like an ordinary person. And she loved it. Hours later, she arrived in a small town several kilometers away. Nobody recognized her. Nobody bowed. Nobody treated her differently. It felt strange. But refreshing. Hungry and exhausted, she wandered through the local marketplace. The smell of fresh bread drifted through the air. Her stomach growled. She followed the scent until she reached a modest bakery. An elderly woman stood behind the counter. She smiled warmly. Good morning, my daughter. Amora smiled back. Good morning. The woman studied her face. You look lost. Amora hesitated. Then nodded. The woman introduced herself. Mama Busy. Something about her kindness felt genuine. Within minutes, Amora found herself sharing parts of her story. Not the princess part. Only that she wanted a fresh start. Mama Busy listened carefully. Then laughed softly. You came to the right place. Amora raised an eyebrow. Why? Because I need help selling bread. The old woman pointed toward dozens of freshly baked loaves. A smile spread across Amora's face. Maybe fate had led her there. Maybe this was exactly where she was supposed to be. She accepted immediately. Neither woman knew that this simple decision would change everything. Because somewhere else in the kingdom, a young prince named Ton Adeyemi was about to cross paths with the mysterious bread seller. And when their worlds collided, neither would ever be the same again. The first rays of sunlight stretched across the town of Adibeo the following morning, painting the streets in shades of gold and orange. Amora woke up to sounds she had never heard inside the palace. Roosters crowing. Women sweeping their compounds. Children laughing as they chase one another through narrow streets. The distant hum of motorcycles carrying passengers to work. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then reality returned. She was no longer sleeping on a luxurious king-sized bed surrounded by silk curtains. Instead, she was lying on a simple mattress inside Mama Busy's modest home. And strangely enough, she felt happier than she had in years. A smile appeared on her face. She sat up and stretched. The smell of freshly baked bread drifted through the small house. Her stomach growled instantly. Outside, she could hear Mama Busy singing an old Yoruba song while preparing dough. The old woman always seemed cheerful. No matter how early it was. No matter how difficult life became. Amora admired that about her. She quickly washed up and joined Mama Busy in the bakery. The elderly woman looked up and smiled. Good morning, my daughter. Good morning, Mama. You slept well. Very well. Mama Busy laughed. Then prepare yourself. For what? The old woman pointed toward dozens and dozens of loaves cooling on wooden shelves. For work. Amora's eyes widened. There was far more bread than she had expected. Mama, do people buy all of this? Every day. Every single day. Sometimes even more. Amora stared at the shelves. In the palace, food simply appeared whenever she wanted it. She had never stopped to think about the effort required to make it. The flour. The kneading. The baking. The selling. For the first time, she began appreciating the hard work behind ordinary things. Mama busy handed her an apron. Today you learn. Amora tied it around her waist. I'm ready. The old woman smiled knowingly. We shall see. By 7 o'clock, they were already setting up their stall in the marketplace. The market was alive with activity. Fruit sellers shouted prices. Tailors displayed colorful fabrics. Farmers arranged baskets of vegetables. The air buzzed with energy. Amora looked around in fascination. She had visited markets before, but always surrounded by guards and servants. Always from a distance. Never as part of it. Today was different. Today she belonged there. At least for now. Mama busy arranged the bread neatly. The smell alone attracted customers. Within minutes, people began stopping by. Some purchased one loaf. Others bought several. Amora watched carefully. Learning. Observing. Trying to imitate Mama Busy's friendly approach. At first she was nervous. But customers responded warmly. Soon she found herself smiling naturally. A little boy approached carrying a few coins. He couldn't have been older than 8. Good morning. Good morning, Amora replied. The boy carefully counted his money. Then looked down sadly. I don't have enough. Amora glanced at the coins. He was only a small amount short. The boy's face fell. My mother is sick. I wanted to buy bread for breakfast. Without hesitation, Amora handed him a loaf. The boy looked confused. But I don't have enough. Take it. His eyes widened. Really? Really? The child grinned. The kind of grin that could brighten an entire room. Thank you. Then he ran off. Mama Busy watched the exchange. You gave away bread. Amora suddenly worried she had made a mistake. I'm sorry. The old woman chuckled. I'm not angry. Then why are you smiling like that? Because your heart is kind. Amora felt warmth spread through her chest. Nobody had complimented her character in a long time. Most people only praised her beauty. Or her status. Or her family's wealth. This felt different. More meaningful. Around midday, the market grew crowded. Business improved significantly. People came and went. Hours passed quickly. Then trouble arrived. 3 wealthy young women approached the stall. Their expensive clothing immediately drew attention. Everyone knew them. And everyone avoided them. The leader folded her arms. Her name was Anita. She came from one of the richest families in town. And she never let anyone forget it. She looked Amora up and down. Slowly. Disapprovingly. You're new. Amora nodded. Yes. Anita smirked. You don't look like a bread seller. The comment made Amora nervous. Had she somehow been recognized? But Anita continued. Your hands. What about them? They aren't rough enough. The other girls laughed. Amora forced a smile. I'm still learning. Anita leaned closer. People like you never last. Then she grabbed a loaf. Without paying. Without asking. And walked away. The other girls followed. Amora stared in disbelief. They stole it. Mama Busy sighed. Leave them. But. Leave them. Why? The old woman's expression darkened. Some battles are not worth fighting. Amora hated that answer. Inside the palace, guards would have stopped such behavior instantly. But here things were different. Ordinary people often suffered injustice because they lacked power. The realization saddened her. Several hours later, business finally slowed. The afternoon heat settled heavily over the market. Amora wiped sweat from her forehead. Selling bread was much harder than she expected. Her feet hurt. Her shoulders ached. She was exhausted. Yet she felt proud. For the first time in her life, she had earned something through her own effort. Not because she was a princess. Not because of her family. Because of her work. The feeling was strangely satisfying. Then something unexpected happened. A black SUV rode into the marketplace. People immediately stepped aside. Conversations stopped. Heads turned. The vehicle itself wasn't unusual. The reaction was. Whoever sat inside clearly mattered. Very much. The SUV parked nearby. A tall young man stepped out. He wore simple clothes. But everything about him radiated confidence. His posture. His expression. The way people respectfully greeted him. Amora noticed women staring. Some whispered excitedly. Others smiled hopefully. Curious, she leaned toward Mama Busy. Who is he? The old woman's eyes widened. You don't know? No. That's Prince Ton Adeyemi. Amora froze. A prince. Here. Of all places. Her heartbeat quickened. She had heard stories about him before. A respected royal from a neighboring kingdom. Known for his generosity. And unlike many wealthy men, he often spent time among ordinary people. Still, she never expected to meet him. Especially like this. Disguised as a bread seller. Ton greeted several market vendors. Shaking hands. Asking about their families. Listening carefully. There was no arrogance in him. No superiority. No entitlement. Amora found herself watching him. Studying him. Something about him felt different. Genuine. Then unexpectedly, he began walking toward their store. Her stomach tightened. No reason. Yet suddenly she felt nervous. Very nervous. Ton stopped in front of the bread display. For a moment, his eyes met hers. And time seemed to slow. Neither spoke. Neither looked away. Something unfamiliar flickered between them. A strange connection neither understood. Then Ton smiled. A warm, sincere smile. Good afternoon. Amora quickly looked away. Good afternoon. His voice was calm. Friendly. Not flirtatious. Not arrogant. Simply kind. I've never seen you here before. I'm new. That explains it. He glanced at the bread. Which loaf is your favorite? The question surprised her. Of all things to ask. She pointed to one. That one. Why? Because Mama Busy worked hardest on it. Ton laughed softly. An unexpected answer. And apparently one he liked. I'll take two. Amora handed him the bread. Trying not to appear nervous. Their fingers brushed briefly. A tiny moment. Yet it sent an odd flutter through her chest. One she didn't understand. Ton paid. Then paused. Looking directly at her again. What is your name? For a split second, panic surged through her. She couldn't reveal her identity. Not yet. Not ever. At least not now. Amora. It was the truth. Just not the whole truth. His smile widened slightly. That's a beautiful name. Her cheeks warmed. To her surprise, she actually blushed. Tom thanked her and began walking away. But after several steps, he glanced back. Just once. Their eyes met again. Then he disappeared into the crowd. Mama Busy watched everything carefully. A knowing smile slowly appeared on her face. Amara noticed. What? Nothing. Mama. The old woman chuckled. Nothing at all. But her smile suggested otherwise. That evening, after the market closed, Amara couldn't stop thinking about the encounter. She told herself it was meaningless. Just a customer buying bread. Nothing more. Yet his smile kept appearing in her mind. His kindness. His humility. The way he treated everyone with respect. Even a simple bread seller. Especially a simple bread seller. What she didn't know was that across town, Princeton was thinking about her too. For reasons he couldn't explain. There had been something different about the young woman. Something mysterious. Something captivating. And for the first time in a very long while, he found himself looking forward to returning to the market. Not for the bread, but for the bread seller. And neither of them realized that destiny had already begun weaving their stories together. The following morning, Amara woke before sunrise. She didn't know why. Usually, Mama Busy was the one who woke her. Yet today her eyes opened long before the old woman called her. She lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling. A strange excitement filled her chest. Then she realized what it was. Or rather, who it was. Prince stunned. The thought immediately made her sit upright. No, she whispered to herself. She shook her head. This was ridiculous. He had simply bought bread. That was all. Nothing more. Yet her mind refused to let the memory go. The way he smiled. The kindness in his eyes. The respect he showed everyone around him. Unlike many wealthy men she had met before, he didn't seem interested in impressing people. He seemed interested in understanding them. And that difference lingered in her thoughts. By the time she joined Mama Busy in the bakery, she was still thinking about him. The elderly woman noticed immediately. You are smiling. Amara looked confused. I am. Yes. No, I'm not. Mama Busy laughed. You are. Amara quickly focused on arranging bread baskets. The old woman said nothing else. But the mischievous smile on her face remained. The marketplace became busy much earlier than usual. Customers arrived steadily. Business was good. Hours passed. Amara helped serve dozens of people. Yet despite her efforts, she kept glancing toward the road. Without realizing it. Each time she looked. Nothing. No black SUV. No Prince stand. Around midday she scolded herself. Why was she even expecting him? Important people had important responsibilities. He probably wouldn't return. And even if he did, why should it matter? She was only a bread seller. At least that was what he believed. Just as she pushed the thought away, a familiar vehicle appeared. Her heart instantly skipped a beat. The black SUV. It rolled into the marketplace and parked nearby. People began greeting its occupant before he even stepped out. Then Tond emerged. Dressed casually once again. Looking relaxed. Comfortable. Approachable. His eyes scanned the market. And somehow, almost immediately, they found her. Amara quickly looked away. But not before noticing the smile that appeared on his face. A smile that seemed directed entirely at her. Moments later he arrived at the store. Good afternoon. Amara tried to sound calm. Good afternoon. Mama Busy quietly stepped away. Far away. Far enough to leave them alone. Amara noticed. She silently promised herself she would discuss this behavior with the old woman later. Ton looked at the bread. Let me guess. Amara folded her arms. Guess what? You're going to recommend the same loaf again. She laughed. A genuine laugh. The first one he had heard from her. And suddenly he found himself liking the sound far more than he should. You remember? Of course. Then yes. He grinned. I'll take 2. Again. Again. She handed him the bread. This time the conversation didn't end there. How long have you lived here? He asked. Amara hesitated. Careful. Very careful. Not long. Where did you come from? A different town. He noticed her vague answer, but chose not to press. Instead he changed the subject. Do you enjoy selling bread? She smiled. I do. Really? Why does that surprise you? Ton shrugged. Most people complain about work. Most people have never appreciated the opportunity to work. That answer surprised him. He studied her face. There was wisdom in her words. Wisdom he rarely heard from people her age. Especially not from someone living such a simple life. You think differently. Amara felt her pulse quicken. And for a moment she worried. Different people attracted attention. Attention could lead to questions. Questions could reveal secrets. She forced a casual smile. Maybe. Ton laughed softly. Definitely different. As the days passed, a pattern began to form. Every afternoon. Without fail. Prince Ton visited the bread stall. Sometimes he bought 1 loaf. Sometimes 3. Once he purchased 6. Even though there was no possible way he needed that much bread. Amara secretly suspected he was inventing excuses to return. The realization both delighted and terrified her. Because she was beginning to look forward to his visits too. Each day their conversations grew longer. And more personal. They spoke about dreams. About childhood memories. About family. About life. Although Amara carefully avoided anything related to royalty. The lies weighed heavily on her conscience. Not complete lies. Half-truths. But still lies. And every day they became harder to carry. One afternoon, storm clouds gathered unexpectedly. The sky darkened. Strong winds swept through the marketplace. Vendors hurried to secure their goods. Rain threatened to arrive at any moment. Let's pack up early, Mama Busy said. Amara nodded. Together they began collecting unsold bread. Suddenly shouting erupted nearby. A motorcycle raced through the crowded market. Far too fast. People jumped aside. Women screamed. Children scattered. The rider appeared unable to control the vehicle. Amara turned just as the motorcycle headed directly toward her. Everything happened in seconds. The engine roared. The rider panicked. The crowd screamed. Amara froze. Fear rooted her to the spot. Then someone grabbed her. Strong arms pulled her away. The motorcycle shot past, missing her by inches. The impact never came. Instead she found herself pressed against someone's chest. Safe. Protected. She looked up. Prince turned. His arm remained firmly around her shoulders. His expression was tense. Concerned. Are you hurt? Amara couldn't speak. Her heart hammered wildly. Not from the motorcycle. From how close he was. She slowly shook her head. No. You sure? Yes. Only then did he release her. Reluctantly. Almost as though he didn't want to. The realization startled both of them. For a brief moment, silence settled between them. The rain began falling. Softly at first. Then harder. Around them people rushed for shelter. Yet neither moved. Neither spoke. Neither seemed aware of anyone else. Until Mama Busy appeared. "My daughter." She rushed forward and hugged Amora. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." The old woman turned toward Tond. "Thank you." The prince nodded. Anyone would have helped. But deep down he knew that wasn't entirely true. If it had been someone else standing there, would he have reacted that quickly? That desperately? He wasn't sure. And the answer troubled him. The rain became heavier. Sheets of water poured from the sky. Most vendors had already left. Ton looked around. "You can't walk home in this." "We'll be fine." "You'll be soaked." Amora laughed. "It's only rain." Mama Busy suddenly spoke. "Take her." Amora blinked. "What?" The old woman smiled innocently. "The prince has a vehicle." "Mama, I need to finish something." "You absolutely do not." Mama Busy ignored her. Completely. Ton tried to hide his amusement. Failed. Spectacularly. Within minutes, Amora found herself sitting inside the SUV beside him. The rain hammered against the windows, creating a peaceful rhythm. For a while neither spoke. Then Ton broke the silence. "You were scared." Amora stared out the window. "A little." "You froze." "I know. You could have been seriously injured." His voice carried genuine concern. Not criticism. Concern. She looked at him. Really looked at him. And suddenly saw something she hadn't noticed before. He cared. Not because she was a princess. Not because she was wealthy. Not because of what she could offer him. He cared because she was Amora. Just Amora. The realization touched her deeply. Dangerously deeply. The vehicle eventually stopped near Mama Busy's house. Rain still fell outside. Neither seemed eager to end the conversation. Finally Ton smiled. "I'm glad you're alright." "Thank you." "You don't need to thank me." "I do." He shook his head. "No." Amora laughed softly. "Then I'll thank you anyway." For a moment their eyes met. Neither looked away. The air felt different. Charged. As though something important stood between them. Something neither was ready to say. Not yet. Then Ton reached into his pocket. He removed a small wooden kitchen. And carved. Simple. Beautiful. "I bought this from a local craftsman." Amora stared at it. "It's lovely. It reminded me of you." Her breath caught. "Me? It's simple." He smiled. "But special." For a second neither moved. Then she carefully accepted it. Their fingers touched. Again. And neither missed the spark. Not this time. Not anymore. The feeling was becoming impossible to ignore. That evening, after Ton left, Amora sat alone in her room. The wooden kitchen rested in her hands. She traced its smooth edges. Thinking. Remembering. Feeling. For the first time since leaving the palace, she questioned everything. Because she was falling for him. Slowly. Genuinely. And that terrified her. Because every day she kept a secret from him. A secret that could destroy everything. A secret that could make him feel betrayed. A secret that might cost her the only real connection she had ever found. Far away, in his own home, Prince Ton sat on his balcony staring into the night sky. And he was thinking about her too. The bread seller. The mysterious young woman who had somehow become the brightest part of his day. The woman he couldn't stop thinking about. The woman whose smile now occupied his thoughts. The woman he was beginning to love. Neither knew that danger was already approaching. Because back at the royal palace, Princess Amora's disappearance had become a national concern. And powerful people were searching for her. Including someone who would stop at nothing to bring her back.